All right, hitting the roads with a Likebike fat tire e-bike, and I think the first thing we have to point out is that this is a budget bike. There are a lot of bikes out there that have the same fat tire experience that are much more expensive, $1,000, $1,500 or way more. So we have to keep ourselves in mind we're spending around $500 for this bike, and not everything's gonna be top level. There's a lot of entry level pieces and experiences that come with it, but how does it do with that and knowing you're at that price point? And out of the gate, you know, a lot of things I'm noticing is it does do a lot of things pretty solid. It seems to have a very strong frame. You don't want to have that feel thin or cheap or like it's going to break or something like that. Handlebar and assembly, quarter twist throttle, brakes, 7-speed Shimano shifter. This selector I've seen on many e-bikes here. A lot of things that are, you know, very standard on e-bikes and is going to do the job just fine and seems to be working very well. It does have those fat tires under you, so it gives that fat tire experience, which if you've never caught one of my videos before, I love fat tire e-bikes. On the road, if you don't know these things, they may look like, oh, they are not a road bike, they're gonna feel terrible, but with the e-bike assist, they actually ride extremely well. You have the suspension, you have the big tires, they just cruise right along, they handle it really well, and this bike's doing a fantastic job. I'm very comfortable, I feel very good. It's been a great experience, so the fat tire portion as far as on the road is great, and then obviously off-road, it's gonna give you some serious advantages there if you wanna get through some thick stuff or some nasty stuff. Now, let's take a second to talk about power. This is a 500 watt motor, a 720 watt peak, and as I've talked about before, that number does not mean everything. 500 watts could be very powerful or very weak, and I'm gonna classify this one as a weaker 500 watt motor. When I accelerate, mashing it right now, you can see it's climbing. I'm on a very flat road right now, very smooth road. It's getting there, it's going. It is not fast. This thing does not have a lot of power, so if you're looking for a bike that just supports you and works with you, this is gonna be a great option. If you want something that's a little more thrill ride, can really get you going and feel like you're accelerating pretty good, this is not gonna be it. Now, with that, what does that power level get you? Well, it's gonna give you modest acceleration. If you come in full speed to a hill or just a modest hill, it's gonna lose speed. I'm seeing speeds go from, if I'm cruising at top speed of 20, 21 miles per hour, I'm gonna get down to probably 16 and a half. That's what I'm seeing. More steep hills, you're obviously gonna lose more and it's gonna struggle to get through those. I did do a test starting from a stop on a steep incline and it got through it. It was very slow. I think I got to about 12 miles per hour. So again, you can tell that it's not a very powerful bike, but it's still doing things, it's still getting you through those situations. So it's good from that perspective. Again, it's gonna really depend on what you want out of your bike. But if you're new to e-bikes and you're intimidated by power, but you still want something that's gonna be able to support you, this could be a great option from a power perspective. Top speed came locked in at 20 miles per hour, so I changed that. And the controls here, you can go up to 32 miles per hour. It does not reach that. From what I've noticed, most time, I'm getting between 20 and 22 on a good case, maybe 23, but this is definitely a 21 miles per hour, 22 in best case scenarios, which is a little slow for my likings. This is gonna be more than enough for a lot of people. I prefer the e-bikes that go at least 28. Not that you have to ride that fast, but if you are in a city and you're riding at 25 mile per hour roads and you're in with traffic, it's nice to be able to ride with traffic and not be the obstacle because you're just slow and on a big old bike out there and everybody's just trying to get around you. It just doesn't feel good. It feels safer to be able to cruise with traffic. So I like having that amount of power when you need it, but if you're not gonna ride it like that, not a big deal at all. This can still get up to low 20s, so good from that perspective if that's what you want. Now, one big positive I will say is I hate e-bikes that have ghost pedaling. So they go so fast that compared to the gearing, when you pedal, you just hit it and there's nothing there. You just, your pedals go flying through and there's no resistance there. With this, even when I was cruising, when I was pedaling with it, I was able to get up to 23, 24 miles per hour. And at top gear of 7 here, I was still working. I was able to pedal along with it and work with the bike, even if I had the throttle mashed all the way. So very great. It's still giving you the experience where you can get exercise, you can work with the bike, you can still pedal, because some bikes, they will quickly go to a point where the pedaling doesn't matter, or that it accelerates so fast that you just can't pedal with it. It's just accelerating faster than you're gonna pedal and it just doesn't feel right. With this, you can pedal with the motor. It works very well. So happy from that perspective. As far as control and feel, very typical fat tire e-bike experience. I got complete control. I can swerve around, I can do things. I feel control. The balance or the suspension is definitely taking some absorption out of the front. Is by all means not a top-end suspension or anything like that. As far as other features you might be interested in, color screen seems to work really well. 5 PAS levels, so you can have it support you in different capacities, which is very nice. Always nice to have that level of control to get what you want out of the riding experience, and the motor assist. It does have the shifter right here, Shimano, so up and down, much like almost every other e-bike I've tested, so you know that's proven and works well. This control panel, you can change the PAS levels right here, go into controls, change settings if you want, turn on and off, things like that, and then push buttons for lights and horn, which works very well. And again, as I always mention, I love it when there's a button for that light so you can easily turn it on and off as you need it. Good cable management, nice and clean. I really appreciate it. It kind of just gives you a sign that it's a better bike. When it's just thrown out there and messy, it just doesn't give you any confidence, so I like that. So overall, a clean bike, handles well, got the most of the features that you want out of a bike, especially at this price point, and checking off a lot of things, so I'm pretty happy with it when you factor in the price. Almost forgot to talk about brakes there real quick, and I'd say it's a you get what you pay for situation. They're not terrible, very typical for this price point. And when you smash them, they're a little soft, but if you hit both of them really hard, it will get you stopped. A little slower, not super responsive. With a bike this heavy, you know, you can feel it kind of rolling through a little bit, but you still stop relatively quickly. And for the price point you're at, it's exactly what you can get. They work, they do the job, nothing high end. So I'm off to the off-road portion of this video, and I've been riding around a little bit, getting my thoughts about what I want to say on this bike. And I'm just gonna say, it's kind of a mixed bag, mixed results here. I'll start with the good and then I'll get to the bad. So that way you have a real picture of what's going on and help make yourself make the best decision for you if this is the right bike for you or not. Now, on a positive, I'm out here riding in fields, you know, stuff that's just bumpy as can be, thick grass, mud, all sorts of stuff that wants to stop you and make it so you can't get through it. And it's getting through it. That's a positive. It's the whole fat tire experience, big bike, riding above everything, frame is strong, it's handling it, I'm getting through it, no big deal there. I'm comfortable too as far as how the seat feels, you know, the handlebar grips, you know, how it feels, how my hands fit around it. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm riding, I'm being bounced around, but I feel comfortable. I feel like I am perfectly fine on this and I'm good to go. Another positive I'll throw out is the ability to pedal with this bike. Again, like the road section, it wants you to pedal with it. And if that's what you want to always be pedaling. More tornado damage, we're still trying to get that cleaned up. But if you want to pedal, this bike almost needs it on the off-road portion, which depending on your outlook, what you want your experience to be, that could be a very big positive or a very big negative, because you're going to have to pedal. But if you are, between you riding it, you're pedaling and the effort you're putting in, and then what the bike provides and to supplement that with the motor, that is a fun experience. In addition to that, you know, the screen is easy to see. It's color. I do like the screen. The controls are working well, the push buttons, you know, the change of the PAS levels, the throttle, and, you know, positioning it and gripping my hand around it, shifting, everything from that perspective is working good. So there are definitely some positives to this bike. But let me go get to a new location and tell you about some of the things that are bugging me about this bike a little bit. All right, now onto the negatives of this bike. And just to point out how I think about bikes, if I get a e-bike that's a mountain bike and I go to really rough conditions like this and it can't quite handle it from a power perspective, so be it. You know, that bike wasn't really designed for that. It might be more for the roads a little bit, or it's meant for you to pedal with it. But when you get a big old fat tire e-bike, it's meant to go anywhere and everywhere, and it needs enough power to do that, at least at a basic level from my perspective. I don't mind pedaling with it, and maybe that's how this bike is designed, but let me just show you. I'm in a spot that's not too rough. It's a little rooted up. It's in a slightest of inclines here, and if I just hit the throttle, I'm not gonna help it go. It's not gonna make it. You can see it's just struggling. It's not going anywhere. It has no down low power. Even on a flat road, smooth surface, when you just hit that throttle, it's like barely able to go. It's just got no torque available. And if I'm off-roading and I'm taking a fat tire e-bike, huge frame, big old tires, I can go anywhere, I want it to be able to have enough power to get me through some of that stuff. So that is a frustration to me. But like I said earlier, if your goal is I want to pedal and the motor's just there to support me, well, then it's a different story. This might be a great fit. But if you're thinking I'm going off-road and I'm going to be using that throttle and the e-bike features, yeah, I don't know on this one. Some other things I've noticed, I think this is the same suspension a lot of people use. It didn't seem to be doing much to help. It was still jarring me around pretty good, and it just didn't feel like it was helping that much. So I really didn't feel like I got much from the suspension. And then last, you can see I've got a total of almost 12 miles on this bike, and I'm down to 2 bars out of 5, and I'm not gonna make it too much longer. I will say these conditions out here with, you know, the thick stuff and the hard to ride through really drags the motor and pulls it down faster than it would if you're just gonna make this primarily an e-bike. But a bike that's meant to go everywhere again, I want that battery to last. I need to get at least, you know, 20, 25 miles out of it minimum, which if you're just doing roads and pedaling along, you're gonna get that. But if you're doing more extreme stuff, you're not. It just feels like it should get a little more, and it feels like the motor's struggling more than it should, and it's draining the battery faster than it should. It's kind of what it feels like, just so you get an overall idea of the experience I'm getting. So I'm gonna wrap this up by saying, when I get an e-bike and I do a review, I do not review every e-bike the same. I think that's pointless. I review it relative to the cost. Because if I was to compare this to a $2,500 e-bike I've reviewed, I'd be like, this is garbage, don't touch this thing. But it's a $500 e-bike, so you have to level set your expectations. You have to know that they didn't put a ton of money into this, so are you getting good value for the price? And that's where I'm gonna say it very much depends on how you're going to ride this. Because as far as allowing me to go places and do things and feel like a strong, well-built e-bike, I'm happy with it. And if I have the mindset where I wanna pedal a lot, and I'm gonna work, and we're gonna go places and we're gonna work together, then this could be a great option. But if you're like, no, I want an e-bike, and I'm gonna use that throttle, and I wanna be able to go long distances and go anywhere, I don't know if this is the option I'd pick. So much like most e-bikes, how do you want to use it, and is that a match? That's how you're gonna answer this one. So I hope that did help you out. Let me know in the comments down below what you want to know more. What do you want to learn about e-bikes? What models do you want reviewed? Give me some information, because I want to create the videos you want to see. Like, subscribe, you know the deal. Hope everything helped. I got a link in the description there if you want to purchase this yourself. But until next time, have a great one.